All right. Is anybody out there? I'll let some people trickle in, and then we'll talk about what we're looking at tonight. Other than my mess here. Because theoretically, if I do this right, I will archive this video and pass it over to YouTube and put a link in the author's Discord channel if I can figure out how to do that. So I normally don't stream, so if anybody notices anything, feel free to point it out. Um, we're going to be covering the Ascent combat framework. Um, the author's Pask, he's got some really good stuff going on. I pulled up the page to talk about what it is. As you see, he's got Combat Collision Manager, Advanced Targeting System, Cinematic Camera Manager, and the Advanced RPG System. Well, Ascent Combat Framework is the culmination of all of that together. So, if you've bought any of those assets, a lot of what I'm going to cover when I do these videos is going to touch on all of them. And I'm going to warn everybody, I am completely learning as I go. So, if I do something wrong, don't be shocked. We'll learn this together. Oh yeah. Except the Ascent finite state machine tool is actually not in the package. Um, good good call, Pask. Thanks for joining me tonight, by the way. I know it's like super late for you, so we're gonna take a look now. This is an engine plugin, so for people who are kind of new to Unreal Engine or don't know where to start, um, shut up, Steel. That's a friend of mine. You can ignore him. I do. Um, it's a plugin, so you install it to the engine. I've already got it installed, so you click the install button and it would install like any other plugin. So plugins, they're different. I've got a lot of asset blueprints. Right now, what I've got loaded up is his example project, which let me go show you. Um, you can actually download the example project once you have the plugin. It'll open right up. For anybody who has one of the subcomponents underneath of the Ascent Combat Framework, you'll want to uninstall that from the engine to install this and open the sample project. So, as you can see, lots of features. We're not going to cover it all tonight unless I stay up way too late, which, who knows. Um, Let me open up a browser window real quick, and I am going to kind of let this play for a minute. You, of course, can see this from the link, but which I will grab while this video plays. Alright, so it helps if I unmute myself when I try to talk. So that's what we're looking at today. Let me turn some options off so I can kind of show everybody what I really did. So here we have his example project loaded. Let me pull up his documentation, which is actually really good, by the way. Just so that I can go through what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to focus on is the Advanced RPG System plugin, which is the stats and attributes and things of that nature for the character itself. So for setup, we're going to check out what he's got in the project settings. Um, this framework is built on top of... Yes, Pask, I will. I'm actually probably going to make a separate video so that I can make it a little bit better than me just messing around, to be honest with you. Alright, so we're going to start with the Advanced RPG. Oops, nope. We're going to start from the top of the tutorial. Which can be found here. I'm going to skip the intro, and we're going to talk about the setup. So this is built on gameplay tags. So you can come into gameplay tags, and you can create... Oopsie. Drag that off the screen for just a minute, and we are going to open up a list of tags. So again, built on gameplay tags, so it appears as everything is going to respond when tags are added and removed, which is great. That lets the engine keep data transmissions kind of small, if I understand it correctly, and it just helps response be a lot smoother. um, so, um, per the directions, there's two ways we can do this. We could come in here and we could create our own data table. We're going to create a new folder and we're going to call this data tables. And we're going to create a new asset. And we're going to call it a data table. And we want to make this data table off of the gameplay tag table row. Now, that defines a structure, and we're going to call this RPG stats table because I don't know a good name to call it, so I'm being creative. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, this is an RPG, and this is statistic, and I'm totally cheating and grabbing some of his, and we're going to say this is health. So, um, I'm not going to go into that. I'm actually going to use the tags that he's already got, so you can see um, he's already by default in the plugin folder created some pretty comprehensive assumed RPG stats. Technically you can modify this, but I don't ever advise it because then you're modifying what's in your plugin. Um, if you want to start with what he's got, there are other ways to do it. Like I could come in here, delete my file here because I didn't really put anything in it. Um, this is a plugin that is installed in my engine. So you see if I take away my engine view, I don't see the folders. I will make another tutorial of copying the plugin into a plugin folder, but that's a different story. So we want to show the engine content, and then we're going to look for the Ascent Combat Framework. Hey, Warriors. Um, so let's see here. We are going to filter by miscellaneous and data tables. I know you're, nope, not curve table. Data table, miscellaneous. I'm hearing noises and it's making me look instead of paying attention to what I'm doing. Haha, ADD. Data table. That one. Alright, so there's a couple ways to do this. I could export it as a CSV and look at all the games I have or have had installed in the past. And we're going to go ahead and call this a new folder. And this is the bundle with all of them Warhands. So, well, almost all. It doesn't have the finite machine, so we're going to call this Ascent example content. And this is our RPG tags mine. Alright, so what I did was we'll be able to see I now have a CSV file that has his content in it. And as soon as I find my, there's my Unreal Engine instance. I hate working with filters, so we're going to import and nope, we're going to create a new miscellaneous data table again. And we're going to call this RPG tags mine. And now to right click, um, and we are going to re-import with a new file, and this should work. And I should have all of his tags. So now if I didn't like Constitution, I could come in here and do whatever I want. But now, um, what this does is this lets me start with what he's got, but not modify the actual underlying plugin. So um, it's a safe way to make sure you don't break anything that you can't get back. Um, I say this from experience because I've broken all kinds of plugins trying to mess with them, end up having to uninstall them and reinstall them because I'm an idiot. So try not to ever work in your plugin folder directly, because if an update comes along and you do your inheritance right and you've done everything right, then that update should mostly install pretty smooth. So, um, what, your IRC chat broke, Steel? We've been through this. We know that chat in Twitch is an IRC chat. So, let's see. We're going to call this morale, just to show that we can do something different. So that is the gameplay tags um, list. Now where that comes into play is going to be in tags, in gameplay tags. So I can actually change his tag table to mine. I'm not going to do that because I have not been through this whole example project yet to see what I would break if I did that. So we're not going to do that. But um, you set up you set up all the tags for these plugins here, and that makes them available to the engine. So now we can reference things by gameplay tag. So if we want to get to the health, we say rpg.statistic.health, and that will be the tag that we're looking for. So that's a friend of mine in real life who is probably just here to laugh at me. Now, um, inside of the project settings, um, there are specific content to the advanced RPG. So what we've got is we've got the way these are float curves. I think they're all float curves. I think um, I could read the documentation and tell you in a moment. Um, but basically, what we're doing with one of these curves is we're going to say, oh, let me pull the curve over here so we can see it, not on that monitor. So as our strength goes up, we're going to increase our damage. So as is your, oh, I mean, I'd say low blow, but you're right, Steel. Um, as is your typical RPG game, um, when your stats increase, your things go up, right? So that's what these curves all represent. So let me read just to make sure, but I believe the strength attribute is what's represented in the curve, and that's going to affect the damage curve, or the melee damage curve. So um, I can tell you right now, I sat down from scratch to start one of these, and it took me about 15 minutes to get some curves and some things set up. So if you don't know curves and how to use them, that'll be the roadblock to you. But I'll cover that more when I actually build one from scratch. So it looks like we've got some endurance. So you'd see this is why I shouldn't rename things, because I would have, well, actually, let's just see what happens. No, that would break it. Um, so we can actually see all the tags that exist in the engine. So if we wanted to affect, if we wanted this to come from a different, or affect a different, or come from a different stat, we could definitely change it right here. But it's already in there, so I can't do that. It even catches us from preventing me from being stupid, which, you know. And it looks like, so the Constitution will affect the total hit points, as we can tell by the curved max value. But this one won't affect the regen. Whereas when we look at endurance, endurance is going to increase your stamina, which let's just see for a second. Nope, stamina doesn't affect anything else. It's going to increase your max stamina, and it's also going to increase your stamina regen. So I'm going to take a minute to pause right there and say, you can have an attribute that has a curve that affects another attribute that could affect another, have a curve that affects it. So the reason I say it that way is because you can set some really good stacking enhancements to your attribute system, all from right inside of here. So a lot of functionality um, that you can stack and create your own item and attribute synergy straight from here. So really powerful, really awesome. And curves are a good way because we can come in and we can increase the curve, we can flatten the curve, we can do a lot of stuff with it. So um, that is how you set everything up in the engine itself. Now, because he's got a character already here, don't go to the meshes, Brian. We're going to go here. So we're going to go to a player character, which has a child. So we're gonna look at the child here, and we are watching Mulan in my house. So if you hear some Mulan in the background, don't worry, it's awesome. All right. So the sample character is parented to the AACF player character blueprint. Now I'm going to stop here because we are about to navigate into the plugin content again. So you can see this character. Um, the beauty of this is we can create a new blueprint that, no, not the live action one, Steel. It's not out yet. Um, the there are two base characters. We can open it up and take a look at it. You can see it's got an action component, it's got a locomotion component, but here's what we're really looking for. We're looking for the statistics component. That is the RPG statistics that we set values for. So that is where we are looking. So now we can look at the statistics component for this player. And so this character does not use leveling, so we'll go into what these mean here in just a minute. So what we're saying is that this character is going to start out with 15 strength, 25 constitution, and 16 endurance. Now, um, keep in mind, we have those curves that those affect things. So, super awesome. We come in and we set the starting value. That is for generate from default attributes. Now, um, let me reread about this. Um, at this point, if we use defaults without generation, it looks like all of the project settings that we set up that create those curves, none of those would apply. So if you just wanted to start with 15 strength and that makes no bearing on anything else, you can use this setting. Um, Now load by actual um, level curves is going to use the level system, which I have not played with yet, so you'll have to bear with me when we get to that, to help determine where on some of the curves you lie. So we're going to leave it at general for this character because I don't like I don't like messing with things that already exist. So that is a 700,000 foot view of um, of the attribute system's base setup. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, go ahead. I'm trying to keep my eye on the chat. Um, I will be glad to try to answer them if I can, and if not, I think I know somebody in here that can. um, so attribute modifiers. So we are going to see if we can find attribute modifiers. Nope, that's going to be on an equipable item, so that's going to be here. No? Hmm. In weapons. Okay, so we're going to find weapons. See? That's why I've got you here, to tell me what I'm doing. In weapons. And when you can't find something, always go to the handy dandy. Find references and find it. So, let's take a look here. So here we have modifiers. So, when we equip this weapon, what's going to happen is we are going to um, look for the attribute modifier. I saw it pretty quickly-ish. Right. So this weapon actually doesn't have any set. So what we can do is we can totally go off of his document. We're going to say that when we equip this, we are going to increase, nope, our strength by 100 seems like a lot, so we'll let that ride. And I'd have found it eventually. Um, and then I'm assuming that this means I'm going through your document. I'm at attribute modifiers. Oh, attributes are down. Haha, yeah, you're right. You're right. Ignore that. I need to put that here because we are actually modifying an attribute. And if I was paying attention to what I was doing, I would have noticed that. So we can increase our strength by 100 and be beastly. You also could, in fact, increase parameters like your crit chance. I know, Steel. I don't stream enough to have had that all set up yet. Maybe that'll change. Um, so we can increase our crit chance. Now, this one I don't know. Pask, if you want to chime in, is this a percentage float up to 1, or is this... So if I put 1.0, are we talking 100% crit chance increase? Or are we talking a whole percentage? Hell, or it's not used. Alright, so... But, honestly, because it's a gameplay tag, we can adjust that. Um, if we wanted it to apply, we could apply it how we want. Yes, I remember reading that. I mean, yes, I hadn't gotten that far. Let's see here. So, on actor begin overlap. I want to go look at something. date with my Visual Studio versions. No, I'm not using a chatbot, Steel. Edit. Bing. Now that I fixed my compilation error from me being an idiot earlier.
This is what a man mock is.
Oops. Sweet. Hmm. Well, let's just see how overpowered we are.
It's really hard. It's just like a little motion.
Let's just go see what we got going on here. As you can see, there's my health. Oh, oh, I have no health. So let's not take on an entire mob like I play World of Warships. Come over here and get their attention. Then I'll run away. Well, oh yeah, they all have that. Oh, ow. Oh yeah, it's doing 600 damage. Okay, so yeah, they're a bit overpowered. So if I take that to 1, maybe they won't kill me in one swipe. Oh yeah, you need to fix that. Alright, so I took it back down to 1. And this is probably a bad map to try to show it on, because there's a lot of people here. Oh yeah, lots of bows being shot at my face. Oh, lots of damage incoming, so we're going to change maps real quick, so that we can actually see this. It was Steel. It really was. We'll go ahead and pick that up. And we'll come see. So we're doing 89 to 100 damage, 134. So now, just to show you what he meant by overpowered, we'll set it back to my easy mode button. And we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, 600 damage, 900 damage. Oh yeah. Now we're getting Diablo-like numbers by comparison, so that's awesome. So as you can see, as I increase my strength, my damage goes up. Alright, so that is the stats and attributes that I have messed with. So now, one last piece I'm going to show from the example is, or from his documentation. I'm going to skip leveling for a minute, because, yeah, that's how I do things, Steel. I take a tier 10 into a tier 4 battle. Um, the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the stat bar itself. So stat bar, obviously, when my computer decides to cooperate, are stat bars. Error statistics, UI, and we are going to look at the stat widget. So as you can see, nice little progress bar with some text on it. Um, it's got a couple functions. Obviously, we're going to have a setup function, so we'll find where that's used. We're going to pass it in a statistic tag, and it's going to check to make sure it's valid. Then it's going to look at the owner of it, which when you create a widget blueprint, you should always make sure you set the owner. and going to find the statistics component. That's going to set a reference to it, and then we're going to attach an event to the attribute modified. Um, and then see what this function does. This function is going to set the progress bar percentage and the overlay text. So kind of what we'd expect given those things. And then he has elected in the base to hard code some colors. Um, so again, I could technically come in here and break that link. I am going to totally break this. Don't don't worry. I'll probably not fix it either. So now I can come in. We can see that my color is set to blue. So theoretically, I'm not overriding the color. And now I have a blue health bar. So don't ever do that though. Don't modify the underlying widget. If you really want to make a change, either make a copy of it or recreate it. Um, don't modify it where it sits. So I'm going to assume that somewhere in here we have a begin play, which is which should be theoretically where we're going to set up our HP bar. So there we see in the begin play of the rootmost character, um, he sets up that widget with setting the owner. So we get from here, again, in begin play, um, if you ever inherit, unless you know you don't want the parent to be called, always call your begin play of your parent. For non-programmers out there, Um, if you didn't call this, if we bypass this directly, then whatever happens in this parent class would not fire, and that can be detrimental to its health. So you always want to make sure that that character, that you call your parent before you do anything else. And I'm going to bet that that's a code. And my Visual Studio is being slow. My Visual Studio is being extremely slow. Okay, there we go. So source example. Nope, nope. So we need to go to the plugin and marketplace, Ascent Combat Framework, and source. And we are looking for. I feel like it should be here. Or I could just go in here and find begin play and go to definition. Um, because Visual Studio makes us nice and lazy programmers. But Ascent Combat, and then Combat. No. Once I'm there, I can hover over this and say Ascent Private, Ascent Combat Framework. What? Source Combat Framework. Actors. Oh well. So we're here. So we can see that we are going to find an effects manager. And what are we parented to here? We are parented to just a regular character. Okay. So, and I totally went off on a tangent. Basically, what we did is we wanted to see what happens when we, we go to definition and, oh, we can see what an initialized character is going to do. So it's going to initialize the attribute set. So here's where we're going to load all that data that we defined in the configuration. Um, and if there's a damage handler component, we're going to go ahead and it appears that we're going to go ahead and set up the damage collision handling. If you've got an equipment controller, we're going to go ahead and initialize that. And um, looks like we're going to start listening for the equipment changed. By the way, this is going to listen for handling death as well as initialize it, so it actually does two things. Um, we're also going to attach ourselves to the handle damage received event of the character. And if we want to see what each one of these things does, so here's the handle equipment change. Um, Again, I'm not this far in. This was I just got this 2 hours ago. So, well, I mean, I got it a little bit sooner than that, but I was working, so I couldn't really do much with it. So, um, and my favorite song is playing on Mulan. So, sorry guys. I just want to look around for a second. There we go. There's our component. So, sorry, I totally went off on a tangent of finding your parents, but here we go. Back to the reality of what we were trying to do, which is we are trying to set up the HP bar on begin play of the character. So, let's see here. And so in the character blueprint, we are setting our widget owner. And we have two stat bars. We have the health statistic and the stamina statistic. Let's just double check here. Oh, look, we have two stat bars. So it's good to know that I can follow that. So on head user widget. Let's see where this takes us. Where is this? That's what I thought. So this is again, these are all in the base content that's included. Um, Here we can see the base HUD. We can see here's where the stat bars are. Um, Here's an equipped item. Have yet to see. Have yet to pay attention to that. I shouldn't say did not see it. I didn't pay attention. So, um, so that gets us our stat bars. So here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna save anything. We're gonna demonstrate just how flexible this is. So we're gonna go into Unreal Engine, and by the way, the component just came out today, so I'm assuming 4.25 support is going to be a matter of days away. I know the underlying components he submitted, I think yesterday or the day before, so if they're not up to 2.5 yet, they should be 4.25. They should be any day now. I'm just going to pick on one to see. Nope, not quite yet. Okay. So, what I want to do is I want to walk through and show you just how easy this is to build one from scratch. It's easy to look at somebody's template and say, oh, well, yeah, of course, it's all built. So we're going to do this on a first-person shooter. And we're going to call this Ascent Tutorial. I may end up using this project for things over and over again. I may end up creating others. So please wait while my computer decides to load. And as we can see, generic first-person shooter, which I am going to immediately go in and kill the sound cue because it's super loud. Audio, find references and edit. Um, Somewhere in here we will have a play a loud annoying gunshot when I left click or use the fire. Montage play. I think I have a child squeezing past me. And I am just gonna, for the sake of everybody's ears, get rid of the gunshot sound. So, sweet, now we don't have to all go deaf. Alright, so, brand new project. Um, Nothing here but the template itself. So, let's go ahead and edit and plugins. We're going to enable the plugin. Plenty of combat, or plenty of plugins are available. Can you please go away window? Dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. Alright, so anytime you re-enable or anytime you enable a plugin, you're going to have to restart your project, and I need to save that because I don't want to do that again. So, now we have enabled the plugin, and we're going to go to our first person character. And actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to edit project settings. We're going to do that thing that I told you we needed to do at the very beginning of this. We're going to set this thing up. Again, we're going to find gameplay tags. We're going to say tag list. And we are going to add a new tag table. And we are going to enable our engine content. And we will find RPG tags because, again, I am just that lazy. And there we can see all those tags from earlier. Alright, and I did it again. So we need to tell the engine the root levels of everything. We say that the attribute list root, the root being, when we say attribute, everything under this item. The parameter root is going to be everything under the parameters. And the statistics root is going to be everything under the statistics. And then I'm assuming this max level would apply to the level curve, what your maximum level is. So, alright, so now that we've done that, we can come in here and we're going to add ARS statistics component. And, oops, didn't mean to open that, but we got it. Alright, so, again, we can generate from default. We can default attribute set, so we want, I'm just looking because I'm cheating, we want health. Hello. We're going to say statistic and health. And we're going to start out with 100 health. And so now we have just given ourselves 100 health, except for now what we need to do is we need to pull out our statistics and say initialize attribute set. So I got stuck on that for a second when I first did this the first time. So that should be, since I'm not inheriting from his character. If I inherit from his character, I don't have to do this. This is because I am choosing not to implement his character. I don't advise that with the whole framework. If you've got the whole framework, at least use it as is before you decide you don't want to use it. Um, so now, um, thing with the um, default game, default default template for any game is that they don't have blueprint or controllers, and I don't like that. I don't like games that don't have controllers because it seems like it's kind of an important thing to do. BP, my player controller. Um, this is where I get out of my league of what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do, but we are going to get rid of all that extra folders so that people can see what I'm doing. And we're going to create a new folder called UI, and we're going to create a new HUD. I am not necessarily showing the best way to create a HUD. I am showing a way to create a HUD. Um, please do not take my rough musings as the right way to do everything. Um, I am going super fast just to try to show you how to get everything implemented. So now we've got a HUD. So in the HUD, we're going to tell that we have a HUD by putting text right in the middle of the top that says HUD was loaded. And we're going to create widget, and we're going to find my base HUD, and this is why I feel like this is the right place to put this. It wants an owning player, which is a reference to a player controller, so I personally feel like this is the right way to do this. That doesn't mean I am right, though. Um, you can look it up on the internet, you'll find every answer, so I'm sorry I don't have a better answer. Oh, hey, if we want to do something with it, we should take that HUD and go ahead and add it to our viewport. So now, theoretically, when I come in and I modify my game mode and I set my controller to my player controller, now when I spawn, it'll say HUD was loaded. Sweet, now we know we're working with our HUD. Alright, so now, we're going to go ahead and turn the engine content back on, and we are going to find, if you have just the advanced RPG system, it will be labeled that. Otherwise, it'll be here in the Ascent Combat Framework and ARS Statistics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control C and Control V, and we are going to call this my stat bar. As we can see, it brought all the functions in, and I am going to show you why I copied his, because now what we want to do is we want to go in and we want to find my stat bar. We're going to add it to our UI. And then, oh, I got to think how I did this the other day. We want to set up stat bar, and we are going to get player character, and we want to see our if I did this all right. I feel like I did, but I feel like I might have missed something because that felt too easy. I
Try
did
number
forget
four.
something. What did I forget? I forgot
Oh.
to.
Mom, do you have any more?
I feel like I forgot to do something. I feel like forgot to do something.
If somebody's not wearing anything for safety when they're fighting, I'm not glad. That's
Nope, forgot to F10 over that. Forgot to F10. So that's what we forgot to do.
that's our problem.
We forgot to.
He doesn't like
No, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's actually. So you think if I. Mhm. So if we say delay, point 2. Nope. I actually think what I need to do is in here. I need to cast to first person character. And we're going to make this a pure cast. And there. Let's see if that fixes it. Nope, doesn't fix it. Alright, so that wasn't what it was. Alrighty, so
Okay, stop, stop.
where did I put that?
I'll be
Right
right
here.
back. Stop.
Okay. Can I put a delay in there? Get player character. Can I do a delay right there? Delay. I can do a delay there. Awesome.
Turn away.
Nope, I'm not setting a reference somewhere else. I know where it is. Yeah, but Warhands, the documentation, once you sit down and read through it, it's actually really good. So, um, so my base HUD. Let's say cast to first person character. And let's do this. I just want to see what happens because I think. Okay. Yep. That was my next breakpoint. Actually, what's happening is I know where it's happening. It's happening right here. So our pawn owner is our first person character. And that first person character has a stat component, statistics component. We're going to say F11. Is it valid? It is valid.
He's not even chatting. He's like, he's not even, he doesn't even have muscles and he goes, do your math well, so.
Alright, So did I not initialize my character in the right? Whoa.
He bumped on the screen.
Telling somebody to remove that's where. So Fantastic says
And he's knocked out.
that might be where it is. So,
He's knocked out.
which I believe. Remove the breakpoint. Okay, so yes, we'll take this and we will put it here. We will initialize that right away. There we go. So something that was happening in this mess was causing the attributes not to fire. So now we can see I have my health bar and it's populated. So yay, we solved our own problem. Um, that's probably what it is, Pask, because I don't have motion controllers. Um, I didn't remove that. So again, initializing it pretty early probably is okay because the component's built in. So that was a simple fix. So okay. So that is where we are. So next we're gonna show we're gonna pretend that pulling a trigger is going to cost us energy. So let's go ahead and add another stat bar. And we are going to call this. Uh,
Something about the army.
Thank you. Can I rename it now? Designer. Oh, I can't rename it there. I have to rename it here. That's dumb.
If he wants to become
Um,
strong.
Mana bar. And go back into the graph. And we are going to get really messy. Don't ever make your blueprints like I do. Set up, stat bar, and we are going to find mana, and we are going to put ourselves there. And we are going to go back to our character, and we are going to make sure that we initialize some mana. And boom, we now have a mana bar. That's just how easy that was. So, why did I do that? Well, because A, it was that easy, and B, I wanted to show you how we're going to affect that now. Um, so now, we're going to go to when we fire. When we fire, we're going to go to where I got rid of the annoying loud sound, and we are going to say statistics, and we want to modify statistic. Modify statistic. Now, I'm going to show you guys here in just a second. Um, I know where to do that because I've already done this once before, but if you want to see what to do, Pask has created an actor for each component that shows you what all is exposed with a little bit of documentation. So, and he may correct me that I'm wrong. Um, this is again assuming you're not using the whole framework. This is assuming you are just going to use the RPG stats. So let's look around here. Okay, so there's our regen. Okay, well that's not true. This is a cost, so cool. That's a cost check. That's not what we're looking for. Um, that's an attribute check. There's our experience. So, by the way, I already know this is what I want um, because it says modify the selected statistic. Shocker. But here we can add a modifier or remove a modifier, and then we have getters for all of them. So I would bet dollars to donuts that if I go look at the statistics component in code, he would have getters and setters that are exposed to blueprints. So that in and of itself is steps above some of the other code plugins um, for some of these functions because they're exposed to blueprints unlike, I don't know, the ability gameplay framework. But we're not here to judge. So, um, so now what we're going to do is when we fire, we want to get out of that box so that I stop. Mm, there we go. No, there we go. So first, we want to make a clean blueprint, blah, blah, blah. This is why I like code. Code is cleaner. We're going to check costs. Nope, nope. You know what? We're not going to check costs because I haven't actually done any any investigation into that. That's probably handled in a data table. So I can promote a variable. Haha, and this is going to be shooting cost. Thank you, sir. Branch, if true, we are going to print string out of mana. I don't have a UI really set up for that, so alright, so now we're going to compile, and now we can say this is going to cost us mana. Now this is where I don't know. Um, Hold on just a second. One of the other users of this just messaged me. Alright, so. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So now, whoops, not done in there. Not done in there. And if we really wanted to be slick, I gotta be real. We're gonna be lazy about it, but oh, nope. We don't want to add 5. We want to so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. We're gonna say -5, so it's gonna cost us 5 mana to shoot a gun. Let's go see if this works. Oh, look at that. We now have our mana, and I did not set it to recharge. So that's a perfect segue into um, back into our character and back into our statistics. And mana, we want to regen 1 mana with a 1-second delay, which means when I fire, Won 1,000, and now we're going to start regenning mana. I counted a little bit faster than I should have. So that is as far as I am to the stats component. As you can see, and I'll make a slower tutorial where I don't breeze through everything, but um, that's the stats component. And that's just one small piece of this entire thing. Um, I've been waiting for this for a little bit, so I'm going to play a little bit more tonight, make a tutorial video, um, maybe a couple tutorial videos. Please check out the component. Um, in the component, um, in the components page, he has a link to his Discord. Other than having to put up with me talking a lot in there, um, I think he's got a link to his Discord. He doesn't have a link to his Discord. Haha, but what he doesn't know is I can get to it from here because that's how I got to it before. Um, Here is the link to his Discord. Is it really not in the other one?
Can you imagine how long it would last if never near the end of a fast?
Um, Now I'm looking to see. Pask, you may want to double check me here, but I missed. Oh, you reached the character limit. Okay. All right. Well, we can definitely cheat our way around this one and go to all of his assets, and I will throw a link in his Discord. I mean, I've people are talking in there, so that is a link to his Discord. You can find me and other people in there. Um, and Pask is pretty active in there, so ask away. I may answer, others may answer, or he may answer. You never know, but you know, together we can make this even better. So I'm gonna stay on for just a minute more, and if anybody's got any questions or wants something specific that I have yet to explore, I'll be glad to take a look at it. Um, but as you can see, that's actually pretty easy to get started. Um, Also, with all the curves and everything, again, I'm going to put a more advanced tutorial together after I've actually had time to play with it. And I believe one of the other users, as I open Photoshop, um, one of the other users in the channel is linking me a YouTube video to statistics in the collision component. So, sight unseen. Um, I'll ask him if he wants me to publish it. I don't really want to open Photoshop, by the way. Um, that is definitely in, from what he is telling me, that is in the support channel.
Why are they cheering? Because he can get to the Emperor now.
So, I'll have to find the actual video. Oh, here we go. So, there. Well, what I'll do, Finn, I will, I will watch those and then we'll talk about what we can do from there. So, um, so if anybody has anything, go right ahead, ask away. If not, I'm gonna take a break and probably um, probably start working on something on my own without streaming for a minute so that I can figure out what I'm doing. Um, but look for some tutorials coming from me in the next over the course of probably the next week or so. Pask, thank you for staying up. It's got to be what, like 3 a.m. for you now, 2 a.m. something like that. So 3 a.m. Um, by all all means. My headset battery died, and so you guys take it easy and join us.